Hello, VC, Dave, the pickup artist with you again as usual. In 1986, I saw a wonderful movie called Manhunter. I didn't know it back then, but it was the first in a series of Thomas Harris, Hannibal Lecter books. The movie was completely crazy. And what was even crazier was the ending, because the director, who was Michael Mann, decided to add this eerie, hypnotic music in it. And I didn't know it. I thought it was incredible. And I watched the end of the movie for the credits to see who that was that created the music. And sure enough, it was IronButterfly's In-A-Gadda-Da-Via. So that was the first time I heard these guys. And, after I got out of the Navy, I started collecting their music. And the first one they put out, they were two rival San Diego bands got together and they formed this band in, '66. And they eventually got a record deal. The first album was Heavy. And this is my favorite album cover from these guys. We've got a monument, an ear monument here that the guys are around. Yeah, it's a concrete ear. This was a 5-piece band when they put this album out. They added the tambourine player and singer, who I think he only lasted this album. I think he was out after that. Back is we get to meet the members. Ron Bushy, that's the drummer. He was, I think, the only member to be on every album. I could be wrong about that. This has my favorite IronButterfly track on it, the IronButterfly theme. That's an instrumental that they played a lot live. Now there's a recent set they did from the Fillmore that's been released on CD and I think vinyl, and it covers 2 nights they did at the Fillmore, and on both nights they ended with the IronButterfly theme. It's a very eerie instrumental. It sounds like it could be a horror movie type soundtrack. Very cool. I like it. Cool ATCO inserts. Of course, they were on ATCO. One of the beefs with IronButterfly, a lot of people didn't like the vocals. They thought they were over the top, and they were. They were kind of a lot like Vanilla Fudge. I think Mark Stein and Vanilla Fudge had these over the top kind of operatic. I like that, that's just me. I mean, I like that. I like the over the top stuff. The album had they had a single called Possession, and what was the other single on here? They didn't really go anywhere. The first 2 songs were the single, Possession and Unconscious Power. I don't know if you could find those 45s. They may be worth something. And they followed it up with, of course, the classic In-A-Gadda-Da-Via, 1968. I also like this cover. They've got the, I think that's the Joshua Light Show, I believe. Of course, In-A-Gadda-Da-Via takes up the entire second side. Side 1 is mostly psych pop. Flowers and Beads, that's a pretty dated song. It's kind of a psychedelic curio, but yeah, I love this. I also have this on, of course, the first time I got it was on CD, but I also have it on reel to reel. I found this at a ham radio convention of all places. And this guy had like a bunch of reel-to-reels, so I picked this one up. The reel-to-reels were not unlike the records. They're kind of the same information. And the inside, I'll show you the inside of this. That's what it looks like. I have not played this yet. I do have a mini, I don't know if you can see it, a mini reel-to-reel player, but I haven't played this, but it's very cool. Now, their next album is probably my favorite, Ball. I showed this actually recently. I just picked this up, kind of. This has got the, this is the only one of the Iron Butterfly albums that has the open insert, which is really cool. Ron Bushy up there. Doug Engel, I think, is to the right. Very cool. Yeah, I like this. A little bit more guitar oriented, but very, very nice stuff on here. I think this is probably my favorite. Pretty deep psych. And after that, they put out a live album, which is what you're hearing now. Now, I don't know where this was recorded. Nothing on the record indicates that. I even went on Wikipedia to find out where this was recorded, but I have no idea where. It doesn't say, but it's very cool. We're listening to it right now. And, well, basically, Iron Butterfly went on. They had the lineup changes. They went through a couple of guitarists. Most notably, one was Larry Rhino Reinhardt, who he went on to be in Captain Beyond and other bands. And that version of Iron Butterfly went on tour, was the one that went on tour with Yes back in the, I think, 70, 71. Another notable guitar player was Philip Taylor Kramer, who was in the band from 74 to, I think, till the end, basically. And then he joined Ron Bushy's band, the drummer. And so they were very close, but Philip Taylor was most notable for disappearing. He was after he got out of Iron Butterfly, he became a computer aerospace engineer and an inventor, basically. This guy was very well schooled. He helped develop the MX missile system. And he did the, back then this was in the 90s, he helped develop the facial recognition system, and just basically a very well-rounded man. And what happened was he ended up disappearing. He was apparently going to the airport in LA and to pick up a business associate. And something happened. He ended up at the airport, and he made a phone call. We actually ended up at the, one story says that he was at the airport for like an hour. Another story says he was in the parking lot because he could not, he didn't have the money to park, which is, you know, odd because he was probably well heeled. So basically, he disappeared, and the night that he disappeared, he actually called 3 people. One was his wife. He called his wife, and he said, there's been a change of plans, and gave her some instructions about what to do. But then he called Ron Bushy, his old bandmate, the drummer from Iron Butterfly. He said send his love, and it was a pretty eerie call. And the last call he made was to 911, saying that he was going to kill himself. And they never found him. He just disappeared for that. This is 1995, and very eerie. There was talk that, you know, he worked for the Department of Defense. You know, this guy was actually a rocket scientist. And, you know, there was a lot of stories. One story was that he was kidnapped by a foreign entity and, you know, to try to get information. So, you know, his family claimed that he had no issues, anything like that. In 1999, a team of hikers were going through Malibu, and they found a car, and inside they found human remains, and it turned out to be Philip Taylor. And yeah, it was 4 years, so you know it was big news. It was national news. They were the local, well, the national tabloid type things, and the tinfoil hat crowd had their stories on it, but who knows what happened. It was ruled a suicide, but there's a lot of questions. Another thing, at the end, he claimed O.J. Simpson was innocent on his call to the 911, which is strange. So I don't know. Yeah, the Iron Butterfly saga ends in weirdness and tragedy, but I think they were a great band. And that's about all I've got tonight. Hope everybody is well. Take care. I'm Dave, the Pickup Artist.